counted among the outlaws. He said, "Come, follow me." People from all walks of life since have been becoming outlaws.
Today, joining us once again is John Schneider, actor, musician, filmmaker, philanthropist. He's best known as Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard. Well, for me anyway. If you ask my son, he'll say I'm having on today Clark Kent's dad from Smallville. And he's known for other TV roles, movies. He's released 20 or so country music albums, 5 #1 songs, and he's just released a new patriotic album, Made in America, which is why he's joining us here today. Welcome, John Schneider.
It's great to be back here. Congratulations on your success of your show, your continued success of your show. So,
what's amazing is how many Dukes of Hazzard fan groups there are. The Dukes of Hazzard is still a phenomenon.
Yeah, I just did a Mad Monster party, which is kind of like a Comic-Con in Glendale, Arizona, and Tom Wopat was there. And yeah, it's crazy. And it's not just people who grew up watching the show; it's their kids as well now. So it's pretty wild because it's been almost 45 years. Almost 45 years.
Why do you think that is? What makes it different than other shows that come and go?
I think Dukes has a sense of community that other shows don't have, and not just the family unit. I mean, most television shows had a couple of buddies who depended on one another, but in mythical Hazzard County, everybody really ultimately depends on one another. Even if the bad guys, they hire somebody who's a little too bad, like maybe physical with us, or they take out a gun. Heaven forbid they take out a gun on Dukes. Boss Hogg says, no, I just wanted you to distract him. But we seem to have an understanding of the importance of not only our immediate family, but our friends, Cooter, Enos, Cletus, those folks. And like I said, even our extended enemy family, usually ultimately in every episode becomes somehow important or learns a lesson from us, or we learn one from them. It's really quite remarkable. Plus, it's got the cars, It's got the stunts, like we really, our stunt team really started that exceptional kind of car work on television. Up until then, I think Jim Rockford would get the Firebird a couple inches off the ground and do a great reverse 180, but he wasn't jumping the train or jumping the creek.
Right.
And of course, we have Daisy. We have Catherine Bach, arguably the most beautiful woman of the '80s. So, and the wisdom of the wisdom of Denver Pyle. Our Uncle Jesse, who was very much, I patterned my Jonathan Kent. You can tell your son, I patterned my Jonathan Kent very much after not only Uncle Jesse, but Denver Pyle, because Denver, who played Uncle Jesse, was a very dear friend of mine and a great reason why I made it through the success of from 18 years old to 25.
Uncle Jesse with those big overalls.
That's right, boys. Now, boys. Anyhow, it was a great show. Still is. Smallville really helped people too, though. People talk about Smallville with tears in their eyes. They talk about Dukes really fondly, and they remember their time with their grandparents while they watched it, and they feel like we really are part of their family. But a lot of times, big military guys will come up to me and say, my relationship with my father wasn't all that great, but my relationship with Jonathan Kent was perfect. So it's great to find out that you were part of something that actually makes a difference.
Yeah. Do you have a personal favorite? Something that, whether it's music or producing your own movies and writing, or a character you've played, something that's kind of stuck with you personally?
Well, I really enjoy I enjoy making the movies that I've made over the last 10 years. Not just because of being in control of the process, but also being able to tell a story that I came up with from start to finish. So I really enjoyed that. In fact, I'm doing developing a new show now that's going to be filmed actually in Kentucky, about a family. And I'm going to look like this. about a family whose last name is Earl, and they live in Perry County, Kentucky. So it actually is going to be called The Earls of Perry.
Nice.
And it will be reminiscent of Dukes. It certainly will. But there's a couple of films that I did at the studio in Louisiana. One was a tribute to Smokey and the Bandit, and that's called Stand on It. And the other one is the sequel to that. And there's one more that I haven't finished yet. So we've got Stand on It, Poker Run, and Double or Nothing. And I really, really enjoy those because it kind of put everything together. I play kind of Bo Duke, but obviously I'm older. But I'm really playing a Burt Reynolds character. And I drive a beautiful T-top. I cut T-tops in a Challenger, so it's not a Trans Am. But I wrote it, and my friends and I put all the music in it. So I kind of was able to wrap everything together and come up with this really, really fun Southern horsepower comedy franchise. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. I'd say in my all these years that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing so far.
Good.
So far, yeah.
Any hood sliding?
I tried once and I got stuck, and I said, the character, I jump up on it, it kind of goes.
Yeah, you really got to grease it.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more you got to grease it down.
Lemon pledge. But my character says that used to be so easy, but it's pretty funny. So I do poke fun at myself, which is also very important. It's also very important.
So why a patriotic album, and why now for you?
Well, right now I think we have a lot of people who have been not just misinformed, but kind of reverse engineered to think our country bad, U.S. bad. And I really was starting to get upset with that. I made a movie 2 years ago called To Die For, about our flag, for much of the same reasons, where people who were, in my opinion, people who were insulting not only our flag, but the folks that gave their lives for our freedoms, they were being applauded, and people who were waving a flag from their truck were being chastised. So these are things that I think are entirely backwards. So I wanted to do something about it. Cinematically, musically, Made in America is a couple of things. It is a celebration of what I think is the greatest country in the world. It is a reminder that is exactly where we live, but it's also a call to action, because it's not all flag waving on this. In fact, the song Made in America is about fixing the mistakes. Made in America, circa 1776. And then I get into it. Some White House clowns in the DC town made it a circus ever since. It all went to hell in a heavenless handbasket. Teaching kids praying is a bad habit, but I'm saying one anyway. I pray it ain't too late to fix the mistakes. Made in America.
It'd be so easy to turn our backs and walk away, ignore the fires burning, live to fight another day. But I'm believing that no matter what it takes, her amber waves of grain should grow forever. It's a duty, it's a right, an obligation to stand for her and fight, 'cause she's our nation. That's why we won't give up, hell no. In this lost world, she's our hero. Freedom isn't free, it's up to you and me. Brother, I believe she's worth it. Tides are turning, we can feel it in our bones, but now's not the time to hang it up and hunker down at home. Constitution, it isn't just a word, it's a glue that holds the whole damn thing together. Together, together we can make our country proud. Together we'll all stand out from the crowd. There's freedom in our speech. Get on your feet and speak it loud. That's why we won't give up. Hell no. In this lost world, she's our hero. Freedom isn't free. It's up to you and me. Brother, I believe that she's worth it. Together, together, together we can make our country proud. Together we'll all stand out from the crowd. There's freedom in your speech. Get on your feet and sing it loud. That's why we won't give up. Hell no. In this lost world, she's our hero. Freedom isn't free. It's up to you and me. Brother, I believe when it's time to toss the tea, she's worth it. Yeah, 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 yeah. She's worth it. Oh. She's worth it.
There's a song on here that says, thank you for your sacrifice, that is specifically written to our Gold Star families. So I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable around folks who have lost a loved one. I understand what that feels like, certainly not to a battle overseas, but to a battle with cancer. So it's important for me to give not just John Schneider thanking these folks, but everybody who played on the record thanks these folks when I do it out in public, when I do a concert, the people who are singing along, because I encourage people to sing thank you, thank you, thank you for your sacrifice. It gives them an opportunity to express their gratitude as well. And I think when we do that, it makes us more likely to do it again. And if we continue a life of gratitude, then I think we'll be much better people.
Yeah. Patriotism always seems to go hand in hand with faith. I
think so.
Why do you think that is? Or why is it for you?
I do believe that the United States of America is the tangible breath of God. I think that God designed this country to be specifically free so that the rest of the world can look at it and have a goal, and not necessarily a goal to come here, but a goal to do better where they are. So I believe when you think about the United States as a God-breathed, I don't really like the word experiment, but I guess it is true, a God-breathed experiment, that you can't help but keep God in your thoughts about the United States, God in your thoughts about the flag. When I see the flag, I see many, many people who have died defending it. For me, every time I see the flag, every time I think about patriotism, I think about God. And I pray, not that he fixes our trouble, but I pray that he gives us the stamina, the fortitude, and the strength and the courage to fix what's happened here in a very short amount of time. What we're doing now, I don't believe is, or what we're enduring now, I do not believe is part of God's design for our country. And I do think we are in the process of getting that back.
I think you can relate to this. When I was young and you went to, let's say, a ball game and you stood up for the national anthem, There was never a thought of not standing up for the national anthem, or if you didn't take your baseball cap off and put your hand over your heart, if it wasn't your
Yeah.
own dad, somebody else's dad would smack you in the back of the head and make you do it
Whack.
because that's who we are. Now you go and it looks like an option. And it's not only an option, but a lot of the younger generation doesn't even really seem to understand. Like they're not being disrespectful on purpose. They don't even seem to know the tradition.
No, they've been
They'll-
they've been they're de-educated. I don't think that's the right word, but their education has devolved in that regard. Because people take they just folks out there who started a lot of this. Actually, folks who started this are very good at sensational marketing. So I think the first time that it happened, that person was doing that on purpose to get the cameras all facing toward him. And what price, my God, what price did the rest of us pay for that single act of selfish self-promotion? And then somebody else said, oh, well, that's a great idea, so let's do this. So let's create a movement, and then let's create some BS history behind it so that more people will do it. But that is all self-serving. The great thing about the United States of America is it's not self-serving. The United States of America and true Americans are all about serving other people because we do believe that that's what God wants us to do. So when I see all that, it just boils my blood. And you're right. I'm 64. There was no way in the world that anybody would do that, specifically because we all knew veterans who had come back. In my case, there were people coming back from Vietnam. My stepfather was in Korea. My dad's age group, my stepfather also were Korea age. And we also all knew we all knew somebody who didn't make it back. Or in the case of Vietnam, we all had a friend or a friend of a friend who came back in a box draped with a flag.
Yeah.
So you would never, not just because some adult would smack you in the head, but it would never occur to you to disrespect that flag, because that is a tacit disrespect of everyone who has sacrificed for it.
Right.
And now, people are so up in arms about wanting to express their freedom and exercise their First Amendment right at the cost of ours, which I still can't quite understand how they justify that.
Yeah.
How can somebody say you can't say that after just saying some horrific thing? And I wrote that into To Die For. My daughter says, you can't just tell people what to say. And I said, you just did. And she says, that's different.
Right. Yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it's so different.
It's termed as nationalism. Like patriotism, the negative is turned into the nationalism, where we think if we say we're the best country on earth, then it's insulting the rest of the nations. And see if you agree with this. I have a thought on, we're not saying we're better than other people in the world. To me, it's kind of like, if you go in biblical terms, you have a God-chosen people to bring a bigger plan of salvation to the world.
Yeah.
As a funnel where you have America's not saying they're better, but it was a funnel for democracy to help spread this idea to the world of a government with freedoms for the people.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because we are based on a foundation of all men created equal, because we are set upon a foundation of pursuing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because that's the rock on which we are built. We are the best country to spread the word of freedom and its ancillary freedoms to the world. So it's like I said, and it doesn't mean that everybody needs to come to America, right? Come to the United States. But they do if they are people who can smell and taste freedom, but they can't quite get their hands on it yet. Then they can take action to try to instill more and more freedoms rather than less and less freedoms in their country and make their country a better place. So freedom is the best part of it. Free will is the best part of it. All of the magic that's happened in those countries, I believe, happened because an oppressed people said, okay, not anymore. Or, okay, not right there. We're gonna fight for, we're gonna think for, we're gonna gather for, we're gonna rally for little bits of freedom in our country, and we'll grow them and grow them and grow them so that we can be more like the United States of America.
I heard you recently. Well, actually, I don't know if the interview was recent. I've recently heard an interview, and and it was about getting older. And you said something to the effect of, "I don't feel like I'm getting closer to the end." Let me see if I get this right. You said, "I feel like I'm getting closer to the beginning." So you're talking spiritually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do
I
believe
enjoyed
that
that.
when we leave here, I'm a Western fan, and I do believe you go on to your reward. So when you go on to your reward, you go and you are in this wonderful place that we can't even possibly imagine.
What makes it real for you?
Well, because of the loss recently. So I do believe that God gives you insight into those folks that gosh, loss is even the wrong word, have gone on ahead. How about that? Who have gone on ahead. And not thinking, not believing, but knowing I will see these people again, gives me great comfort and eliminates the number one fear that I think we all have, or I used to have, which is the fear of dying. Mm-hmm. I don't believe, but I tell you what, I've never really believed, Ken, that this was it. I think this is a teaching ground. We're here to learn. We're here to do. We're here to figure things out so that we can bring them with us when we go. But I've always believed that. But I don't believe we're going to be on fluffy clouds with harps and wings and all that. What I believe is it is going to be so amazing that none of us can possibly imagine what it is. I don't think my loved ones are sitting on a cloud eating bonbons. I think they've got something to do up there. I don't know what it is, but I will.
And I always think that if you're a non-believer and you're thinking it's all just wishful thinking, it helps you get through life, whatever helps. Why would we need it to get through life? I think you didn't say the word grief, but referring to grief, deep emotions like grief, or even not accepting. You have grief because you feel like something was cut short, or that that shouldn't have happened. If it feels natural, we wouldn't have grief. So if we were just animals and went away and were buried and whatever, and that was the end, it'd be a cruelness in the world of evolution that the one animal, let's say it was, that develops a brain that can produce such emotions, that can grieve their dead and love that deeply, hurt that deeply, and have these intense emotions we do, doesn't make sense unless the death part of it wasn't part of the original equation and there's something after. Otherwise, we'd be like other animals that just bury their dead, or they eat their children, or you know what I mean? Like there isn't really feelings there about it. They don't ponder philosophical or religious thought.
Correct. Well, there's like you said, loss, death is biblically speaking, death was really not part of the original design. So when death entered in, so if death is not part of the original design, God's design of man, then when death crept in because of sin, and I'm not a biblical scholar by any means, we didn't know what to do with it. And I'm speaking from experience with this. The thing about grief is that when it happens to someone else, it seems like, when you're consoling a friend, it seems like it seems like sorrow It seems like pain. But when it happens to you, it is indescribable. There is, and this is what I said many times during my struggle with this, is I don't have any place to put it. God built a lot of shelves and there's a lot of places to put a lot of things in us, but not grief. Not grief. Grief is one of the, it's like trying to remember a dream. It's like I can just about get my mind wrapped around it so that I can even look at it and try, because we all know that we are all going to die. Nobody's getting out of here alive. We are all going to go away, whether that's to heaven or to somewhere or to, we'll never know until we get there. Ooh, there's a song. We'll never know until we get there. I've got to write that. I've got to write that down. But when something like this happens to you, it's an entirely different animal. And when it happens to you and you are I can't imagine going through grief and not believing in God. I can't imagine not believing that I will see these folks again. I can't imagine that. And why would I? But I don't believe it's a crutch, because I believe also that when you are actually grieving, that God has a way of showing you. There are many references in the Bible to signs and wonders. I believe God has a way of showing us signs and wonders to kind of help deal with this emotion that is so all-consuming at times. Because I've seen things that are absolutely inexplicable, and they happen exactly when I needed to see them. And because of Alicia's passing now, I also believe, maybe I'm just some crazy old dude in a motorhome somewhere, but I believe that my mother has spoken to me. I believe that I've seen my dad. I remember things about my grandmother, who was the first person that told me when I was about 6 or 7 years old. She was holding my hand. We were walking through Mount Kisco, New York, and out of nowhere, she just said, "You know, Johnny, one of these days I won't be here, but don't worry, you'll see me again. I'll be with Jesus." And I was like, okay. That was the extent of my religious upbringing. But guess what? When I needed it, that was enough, more than enough. So I thank my grandma. I thank my grandma for that little piece of wisdom. And I don't remember my grandmother being a particular religious person. I don't think I ever remembered her saying the name Jesus except that one time. But it was enough.
One of my favorite scriptures is Ecclesiastes, and unfortunately, I understood it deeper when I was older. But it's something to the effect of, it's better to be in the house of mourning than the house of feasting, because death is the destiny of every man, and the living should take this to heart.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. Look it up.
I'm going to look that one up. Yeah, Ecclesiastes.
I think it's like the very first verses in there. And I liked it because I knew it was true when I was younger.
Right.
But, then I lost a sister, and then I lost a daughter, and then I lost a marriage. And then you start you have those go back in your head, and you're like, you'd never want to relive this or wish it on anybody else.
Nobody.
But on the other side, which there never really is another side, but through the dark part of it, you do realize the painful truth of it is, it's why most people have spiritual moments if they have a near-death experience, or they just or a loved one passed away, because it makes you face mortality, was the essence of those verses.
Right, and it takes the fear of it out for me. And now, I don't think I think the fear of death is fear that someone you love is going to die.
Yeah, that's worse.
Yeah, that's much worse. And someone who has not gone through grief, that probably sounds like one of the more ridiculous statements. But no, that's what it is. That's what it is. The fear of someone you love dying. And those of us who are still here, the older we get, the more we have been through that. And oddly, kind of like the hyphen, oddly, at some point when you get closer to the end than closer to the middle, because I don't know very many 124-year-olds. So I think arguably I'm not in middle age anymore. That fear completely goes away. And added to that fear we used to have, and added to now this newfound strength of, hey, you know what? I'm more worried about someone I love dying than I am about me. And this is not a cavalier statement by any means, but then you get toward, and we'll get to see them again.
Yeah.
Right. And, my mother lost her first son when he was 3 years old. He died in 1957. And I came around in 1960. And I watched my mother grieve Johnny Michael her whole life. Her whole life as I knew my mother, every minute of every day had a measure of grief in it. And the first thought I had when my mother passed away was, she's holding Johnny Michael's hand. And if that makes somebody roll their eyes, I don't care, because that really, when I thought about it that way, that was the first time I thought of my mother as happy. So not only does that notion help other people who've lost a child, I can't imagine, but it helps me get through the day, and it helps me think about the awe and wonder of what's to come. Where are we in the here, I'll get all funky on you. Where are we in the caterpillar butterfly transformation? Are we a caterpillar? Are we locked in the chrysalis right now?
Yeah.
Where are we? And is I don't think the caterpillar is aware of the butterfly, but I'm pretty sure the butterfly is aware of the caterpillar. So chew on that for a little while. Otherwise, why did God give us that? Yeah. Why did he give us that amazing metamorphosis? Why did he give us the tadpole and the frog if it weren't to learn something?
Yeah.
So, and what did they say? What is that? I saw a bumper sticker the other day. If man came from monkeys, how come there's still monkeys?
Yeah. Right.
Right. So,
yeah. I have a lot of scientists on. But the reason I do is because there shouldn't be a division between faith and science. Scripture says, God reveals himself by his word and by his creation.
Right.
And and what you're saying, you look at things in creation, you're like, how is that possible? Or why is it even there? Why is it doing that?
We just drove through, we're in Sedona, Arizona right now, and driving through the mountains here. If that doesn't look like a topography, a geography, a geology that was created by massive amounts of water going somewhere else, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
All these beautiful Monument Valley, all these beautiful vistas that we have here that, of course, makes me think of She Wore a Yellow Ribbon and some great John Ford, John Wayne Westerns. But I was looking at that and I thought, wow, this is amazing. One of these days, I'm going to find out if that's true or not. I won't be here when I find out, but one of these days I'm going to find out. And, maybe somebody's going to say, it's pretty good. Not a lot of people looked at it that way. But I love to look at I'm looking out the window right now. The tree I'm looking at is older than me. The rocks I'm looking at are certainly older than me. So maybe I'm really not that smart. Maybe I should pay more attention to what God has done, and maybe that'll inform what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. You mentioned people could find your album on iTunes. What's the best way?
Best way, if you want to buy a hard copy, there's only one way, and that's johnschneiderstudios.com. johnschneiderstudios.com. If you just like to listen to it, then just look up John Schneider's Made in America, and you'll find it on iTunes and Spotify and Apple Music. It's in all those places. But I'd really like you to. I don't know how writers get paid. They do. I don't know how any of that works. But if you, I'd prefer that you prefer a hard copy, and that's johnschneiderstudios.com. The CDs are they're going to be delivered. We had issues with the CD manufacturer getting the raw materials to make the CDs, but I think they're in now. So check it out. Listen to it on iTunes first, and then or tell you what, you can also go to my Facebook page, and I'll put a link up there, and it'll play little snippets. It'll play a snippet from each of the songs, and if you feel like it's something you'd like to have in your collection, then by all means go to the store and grab you one.
Yeah,
it's just
all right. I'll put a link to that Facebook site and your johnschneiderstudios.com in the show notes.
Fantastic. And go ahead and like my Facebook page. It won't hurt. I won't track you down. I promise I won't track you down. Hey, this has been great fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Counted among the outlaws, he said, "Come, follow me." People from all walks of life since have been becoming outlaws.